So today we are going to tackle monopolistic competition, and we are going to start with the advertisement concept. Since we are talking about monopolistic, then it is related to diversified products. And to make diversification, we can focus on branding, make people differentiate between the other products. And one of the very effective tools is advertisement. And if you see here in this equation, you will find that the function, it is not only affected by the price, but it is affected by the letter A, which is advertisement. Because here, the advertisement will represent a sensitivity, and it will represent an effective on the consumer decision. So we put this letter A in order to look for the impacts of advertisement in increasing the numbers of output. So as the numbers of output increases, this is means due to the advertisement. It's not related to the price, so I'm not that much of price sensitive. And here I'm taking into account the comparison between the cost and revenue. So the firm here should look to the point of advertisement, as you see, and we are going to differentiate the function with respect to the A, which is the marginal cost of advertisement. What is the marginal cost of advertisement? The effect of the extra dollar spent on advertisement in order to have more revenue. So here, this is the function of the price times the quantity of a price and advertisement, minus the total cost and minus the advertisement function, which is in many cases, it can be a function with a slope, or it can be in the concept of constant amount or lump sum amount of money. So we will find in different problems that advertisement have an effect and very effective tool on the product, as for example, in the carbohydrate soft drinks, it is having an impact on the buyer's behavior. So if we go back to the rewrite the equation, so price minus the marginal cost with respect to the change of quantity over A equal 1. So here we're going to look for the advertisement elasticity, how it will be important. So advertisement to the sales range, sometimes it is elastic and sometimes it is not that much of elastic. So here it is important to compare the advertisement elasticity of demand. So if we open the brackets of the equation and take in consideration the price and the quantity, multiply both sides by the price times quantity in order to find the slope. So you will end up by the advertisement with respect to the price of quantity equal negative relation between elasticity of advertisement and the elasticity of the price. So this is a very important equation where we are going to take the relation between the two factors of elasticity. It is not only price elasticity, but it is advertisement. It is not the same in the perfect competition, where we can take in the perfect competition, price is sensitive or not that much. So it is in taking in consideration the elasticity of advertisement. So if you look for the effect of advertisement for any convenience store, you will find it is equal to 5. And usually in supermarket, the advertisement have a quite important for the price maker and for the revenue incurred in the market. So here you have in the display room in the supermarkets, you will have a lot of items, but the people, when they are going to pick a certain product, they are oriented or driven by the ads that they use. So sometimes the advertisement have an effective tool on the revenues, and sometimes it does not have an effective tool. So as you see here, it is quite important to make a designer of jeans who will have advertisement to sales ratio as 10 to 20%. So he can leverage or increase or reboost the sales by the amount of advertisement spent. The same way in detergent, you will find in Egyptian market a lot of detergents advertisement for Persil, Ariel, or all these are times. Maybe they are all on the same brand, but they are making differentiations by selling to different customers in order to increase. So advertisement elasticity is very important for the buyers. If we recall this data from the United States, you will have a pain medication, and you have here medicine as well. It is highly affecting with advertisement. Medicine for the pain medication, let's say Tylone and Bayer and Excedrin medication for the painkillers. So you will find that the ratio of the advertisement, you will find the sales and advertisement expenditure for the leading brands over the counter. The meaning of over the counter, that it is not prescribed by the doctor. So I can go to the pharmacist and ask for Tylone simply, and it is effective to have it anywhere. So it is not by the doctor advising. So here you will find that the advertisement here, percentage here, it is increasing, and the impact it is here is higher in the product where I'm making more advertisement, where people are know this from the ads and the people said that it is good. So they are driven here by the advertisement. If you go for the last one for the cough medicine, let's say for example, you will find that the highest value of sales, $350 million, it is highly affected by or having the higher impact due to the portion of advertisement, and it is having an impact on the sales here. So what we call a monopolistic, you know that the monopolistic, it is related to differentiated, it related to branding, it related to a different product where the product is a flat demand curve and it is an elastic product. It is an elastic product. So I am driving the customers to buy the advertisement. It's completely different than the oligopoly market here. In the oligopoly market, in which we have few firms, and then we explain that we have in the few firms such as the steel, the Siemens, all these companies, this can represent the oligopoly market. But if they can agree together or explicitly collude, such as the oil petroleum exporting country, OPEC, they are acting as a union, the OPEC, oil petroleum exporting country. So they act as a union, so they have the capacity to determine the units and the price. So in some cases, we can see that their agreement together, they will act as one union. So they are close to monopoly. And when they are close to monopoly, they have a market power and they're setting the prices. So this is the two or three curves, three markets that as you see here, that is usually we see them in many places in all other products. So the monopolistic, as we know, have clear characteristic. The first characteristic, it is differentiated, and the second important characteristics, it is the free entry and free exit in the market. And this is free exit and entry means that if I'm not a profitable business, I can get out of the market. The same questions that we usually take our attention is if this curve it is elastic or inelastic. When we look for these curves, this is a monopolistically competitive firm in the short run, and we want to differentiate it between the long run. So in the short run, we know it is an elastic curve where that curve is flat, where we will find the slope is higher. But if you look for it in the long run, the curves, it will be changed and the price exceed the marginal cost, as you see here in the figure A. But in the figure B, where you have in the long run, you will find the price equal the average cost. So if the firm have the capacity to differentiate its products by time, it keep updating it, it will keep them in the market and they can compete. If they fail, they got out of the market. If they fail of updating, if they fail of differentiating, if they fail of attracting the customers, they get out of the market. And we have a lot of cases of failure or bankruptcy. So Netflix, let's say for example, has been replaced Blockbuster. This company does not have the capacity to stream online. So if they cannot streaming films online, they got out of the market. We have another case which is called Montgomery case, and it is one of the very big retail in the state, and it lasted in the market 124 years, but they failed. Why? Because they didn't update the catalog, or that they used to sell the products through catalog, but after the technology and the internet, they didn't update it and they didn't replace their So monopolistic competitive market, we have different picture in the short run and in the long run. And in the short run, it is completely different than in the long run. And if they didn't update themselves, they will have zero profit, so they can easily exit of the market. So after we explain the two characteristics for the monopolistic, it is come to my mind if it is economic efficient or not. So if we recall the four types of market, which is the perfect competitive, I'm a price taker. So it is regulated, maybe, as we mentioned, do we have a regulated market? In the regulated market, we have what? regulated markets such as in the medicine, sometimes it is regulated in some countries, and in other countries they are not. OTC, over the counter, so it is generic. I can take it anywhere without any intervention. But sometimes the government interfere in some product because they are highly mandatory. So the first types of market, it is called perfect competition. And in this perfect competition, I'm a price taker, price taker. And here I don't have a room to change the price. So it is regulated, or it is a perfect competitive, similar to the fresh products or vegetables and fruits. But if I go for other types of market, monopolistic and economic efficiency, so you have to take in consideration in the monopolistic, the demand have a different prices where we can do different price segmentations, or we are looking for the monopolistic competition price where we exceed the marginal cost, because here we have a high price depend on the consumer willingness and ability to produce, and consumer willing ability to buy, sorry, consumer willingness and ability to buy. So this is what goes for the demand, and it is the price for the monopolistic competition. So as you see here, it is equivalent to the determination of the monopoly prices. But we have here a dead weight loss shown by this yellow area, and it is a loss exists in the market before the consumer. Why? Because the prices become very high. If the consumers didn't find an updating in the product, if the consumer unfortunately didn't find, let's say, a substitute for the product, so he will force to buy this product at a very high price. So let's go here in a monopolistic competitive market. You will see here it is important for all of us to take into consideration the socially undesirable market structure. Why it is undesirable? Because in the monopoly, it is undesirable because we have a high price, but here in the monopolistic competitive, we have less monopoly power. We have less monopoly power because we have a lot of substitutes. So in the monopolistic competitive market, so you see here, then a socially undesirable market structure, it should be regulated. I think there is no need to look for this regulation because the market power is small. When they have a high market power, let's say, for example, then we can say that we are in need to regulate that, similar to the oligopoly. In the oligopoly, we are in need to regulate. From the very interesting things, in order to recall for your memory the meaning of monopolistic, if you are going to buy textile or garments products from online, so you open your app, it is available, you have different products, you go to Zara app, you go to Yashri app, you go to USA apps. So there is a huge competition, and here you look for the product quality, here you look for the colorful. So there is no need to make a regulation. And each one try to be differentiated. Someone give you a discount, someone giving you a bright color, someone giving you a better quality. So here, usually enough firms compete with the brands. So there is no need, and this is very important, to regulate the market, because each one try to explore the better things in order to disseminate the product. I recall from my memory, the prime market that exists in Europe, it is dominate a huge portion of certain segments targeting certain income. Any inefficiency must be balanced, and it is important for the monopolistic. So the product diversity, it is very unique, and this is give the consumer the ability to value the product. Is it worse or not? Is it relevant for me or not? The gain from the product diversity can be large and easy, outweigh any inefficiency. So this is market is preferable because it is correct as itself. If I have a bad reputation, then it will affect the product and the reputations of the consumer. So this is, can we regulate it? So this is, can recall for me the very interesting example for a monopolistic competition in the market, which is the colas and the coffee here, where we look, it is all products they are elastic, and they have a lot of substitutes, but some people have certain brands. And the celebrity of this product, who is the celebrity? So I'm attached to the advertisement that we have mentioned before. Let's go for the oligopoly and the games that exist in the oligopoly. Today, you will find me host the bad evil, or have the bad evil features, because I will talk in terms of, or I will put myself in the shoes of the oligopoly, of the producer. In the oligopoly market, there are slightly differences. Maybe they are similar, but not identical. And when we look for the oligopoly market, and we name it احتكار قلة in Arabic, so this means what matters few firms do. They have a power. So they agree on price and quantity. And from the very interesting things that we have the Beautiful Mind film, and this Beautiful Mind tried to explain John Nash explanation for how we decrease the oligopoly market power. So here you will find that over long run, because of the barriers to entry, it is difficult because I need a huge capital, huge investment in order to enter this market. So as you see, I have an example in Egypt, let's say steel, cement, it's an example of oligopoly. And as well, you will find it in petrochemicals, electrical equipments, and computers. So the scale here is important because I have a recognition in the market and I have an equivalent market share. So here I need to look for the strategic actions. Okay, what do you mean by the strategic actions? So let's say, for example, if we go for the very well-known market here in Egypt, which is the mobile operators. We have 4 firms, and these 4 firms in the mobile operator represent oligopoly market. So what is the strategic action? What is the first mover? First mover. Who did advertisement? Okay. Do you think that advertisement is effective on oligopoly? Somehow, yes. So when Vodafone, let's say, make an advertisement, we see the rest of the companies do an advertisement. The 3 of them, the 4 of them are competing with the same service, but they have a very important things. They have some things that they are price competition, how they can, and non-price competition. Okay, so as we said before that we have regulator, NTRA, which is regulating the prices of the telephone call, which is for pay tape. So they are not competing with the calls. Okay, so then they can compete in another things. What they are competing, they are working 24/7, they open stores, they give you application to recharge you or renew your credit. They can use the finance program, so I can transfer to Ritaj and Ritaj transfer to Dua, and then we can do this financial transfer. So this is one of the things that we call it price competition. So we compete according to the coverage, we compete according to the customer services, but according to the price, this is called non-price competition. It is regulated because if Ritaj decrease the prices, she will take the market share. And this is what happened for the last operator when they entered the market. When the last operator entered the market, they took portion of the other competitors. So it is very important to look for the oligopoly market. Do all of them agree on the price? Not usually all agree on the price. Sometimes they agree and sometimes they didn't agree. And this is what we call it strategic action. So if I make an ad, you will find that the 4 companies make the same ads as well. If I did offers or promotions, they did that. So 2 pillars are very important, something called price competition and the other called non-price competition. So it is very interesting market, and I do like the oligopoly market because how we can manage. Here it is important to look to the macro and how the macro or the government control the behavior. So it is very complicated in pricing, in output, in advertisement, in investment. It required a huge investment. So let's go for oligopoly market. John Nash, each firm is doing the best it can give, what its competitors are doing. So it is very interesting to look to the film of Beautiful Mind. And in one of the scenes, we are trying to explain each firm. And in this case, I bring for you pictures. And in the film of Beautiful Mind, he explained the firms by girls. 5 girls enter in a cafe. And in doing it best, giving what competitors are doing. Okay, so if I have 5 girls and I have 5 boys in the films, so how they are going to compete? So you have one winner and the rest are loser, or we have all of them winner. They will never be winner unless a very important condition exists: transparency. So X and Y and Z, they will say which one they like, which one they intended to. to go for. By this transparency, each one will be end up by a winner. But if they keep it secretly, no transparency, so only one winner and the rest will be a loser. And it is very interesting. I pick for you from the film a pictures where you can inspired or get the meanings of what are the meanings of each firm is doing it best. So let's say, for example, if me and Fatma is doing a business and she is working in producing, let's say, for example, cement, I will tell her, you go in the urban and I go for rural. We agree together. I know this is not good, but I am talking from the perspective of me of the producer, from the perspective of the producer. I'm not talking about the concept of the firms. So here it is the oligopoly market. And let's say, for example, when a market is in equilibrium, so we are splitting the markets across the businesses, then we will have no reason to change the price or the output. So she will settle in the rural and I will settle in the urban. I have to know the numbers and no one will compete in the same place. But if we compete in the same place, we will have a price war. And this is depend on the trust. Do I trust her and she trusts me or not? If you don't trust, what will happen? Price war. Why she exists in the market? I want to get her out of the market. And this is bring to my mind the war that exists in Egypt between Samsung and LG. When Samsung and LG entered the market as electronics, what they did? Price war. Why they do this? Why they compete? Why they cut the prices? Fatma's cutting prices. Do I cut the prices? LG do, Samsung do. Why? Because they want to drive the competitors out of the market. And then one will be existing in the market. And when we have one exist in the market, then this is what we call it a monopoly. Okay. So this is the strategic decision that we have in the market. So this is called Nash equilibrium. So set of a strategy or action in which each firm does best it can give to competitors action. So maybe in the market we have two firms and it is called duopoly. So you see here, I think this is the pictures. Here in the cafe, there are 5 girls and here we have 5 boys. If someone didn't explicitly mention who is looking for, what happened? If they didn't be transparent, so what will be end up? We have here the girls and we have here the boys. If they explicitly mention what are their preferences, each one will be ending up by a winner case. They are all winners. But if they are not and they compete for the blonde girl, so the only one will win the blonde and the rest of the group will be loser. This is the criteria of the film. So it's coming from the scenes and you can focus on these scenes and you will see how they can have a transparent. But to have a transparent and have the capacity to explicitly mention your strategy, this means what? Trust. And so I need a trust. If I don't have this trust, so we will have a price war. This is the criteria. It is something that depend on the agreement and depend on the experience of the business. Because my profit, my winner, is not depending on my capacity of production, but it depends also on the capacity of the competitors' production. Because if you produce more than me, you will take the market because we are the same. We are not doing something technological or anything like that. So it is very important to look for the oligopoly market and the Nash equilibrium. So this is the Nash equilibrium. Let's go for the first model in order to look for Carnot model. Carnot model, which is called oligopoly model. This is Carnot model in which firms produce homogeneous product. Let's say that we are producing cement, we are producing steel. Each firm treat the output of its competitor as fixed. So Ritage will produce 10 and Dua will produce 10. And all firms simultaneously how much they produce. So there is no hidden things. The players بيحددوا. The players determine it. Okay. So in this market we have something called reaction curve. How we can determine the reaction curve. So if you see here, this is the output decision. And in this output decision, we have marginal cost because the marginal cost depend on the fixed cost here. And in the fixed cost, you have constant amount, and we have here the demand of the marginal revenue. So the intersection between the marginal revenue and the marginal cost give us 50 units. This is the 50 units that I have. But if I have two firms, very nice. So each firm will produce constant amount, and it is very well known. So it is 25 for X and 25 for Y. So this is the meaning of will produce, and it is determined by the D1, which is represented the whole amount, and now implied the output of 25 for a firm 1 and firm 2. And this is called a reaction curve. But if I split it to another, the 25, I want to split it to two firms, then it will be 12.5 and 12.5. I tried to split it into two parts. So if the total demand in the market shifted down from 50 to 25, then it will be 12.5. If firm 1 thinks that firm 2 will produce 7.5 units, 75, firm 1 will produce only 12.5. So this is the combinations of the productions of the market. It depends on the capacity of the market, and each one will have this one. So what do you mean by reaction curve? A relation between a firm profit maximization and the amount they think. And I usually give you an equation and I ask you to determine the quantity for this reaction curve. What do you mean by reaction curve? So let's see here. This is the demand. This is the relations. This is the reaction curve because I have quantity 1 and quantity 2. How much of combinations I will produce. So we have the extreme 100 units of Q2 and the extreme of 50 units of Q1. If I have another reaction curve, what is the other reaction curve? It is the extreme 175. So this point of intersection is called the point of reaction curve, the intersection between the two firms' reaction. What do you mean? It is similarly to the, remember, PBF, production possibility frontier. So it is just a linear equation giving you two combinations between two things. So what is Cournot? Cournot represents the reaction. Each firm correctly assumed that the amount its competitor will produce. So if I determine the intersection between them, I can therefore determine who will move first. Let's see how we can do this Cournot model. So Cournot model means in which each firm correctly assumes how much its competitor will produce. You have to know how much because they are not going to enter any price word. It is something relevant to mean Nash equilibrium. So it is very important to know. Sometimes they call it Cournot Nash equilibrium. Why? Because there is nothing hidden and everyone interact with each other. In Nash, each firm is doing the best. And Cournot, each one know the quantity of the producer. As a result, no firm would individually want to change its behavior. So let's say, for example, Fatma for steel will have a certain amount of production. I don't want to change all of a sudden my production function because this is what forced me to a huge investment. So I put it, for example, for you here, if I have identical firms, and this is the price equal 30 minus Q, and the marginal cost under a simple assumption, the marginal cost equals 0. So what will be my total revenue? It is the price times quantity 1. And here I will have the equations for P times Q1, and then I multiply times Q1, then it will be 30 times Q1, and then I have Q1 square. And here I will subtract what? I will subtract I will subtract Q2 minus Q1. This is the total revenue function. If I want to do the differentiation, I will do the differentiation with respect to the quantity 1. So this one Q, it is split into Q1 and Q2. This Q is split into Q1 and Q2. So if I do the reaction curve, I will substitute and make differentiation. So I will end up, but Q1 equal 10 and the Q2 equal 10, then the total quantity equal quantity. So this is called the total quantity produced. So if I want to find the firm, if the two firms collude, what do you mean by collude? They agree together and they set a certain quantity. So we'll have the revenue price times Q. So we ended up by 30 minus 2Q. If I want to equate it with 0, because the marginal cost equals 0, you will find under collusion, the quantity will decrease. Under collusion, the quantity decrease and the quantity become 50. So if they are identical and they spread the market, the quantity will be 20, but if they collude, the quantity will be decreased. The prime minus 3 minus Q, it is the total quantity in the market. And when we multiply it here, we multiply it times Q1 and Q2 to find the equation. And this is the difference between without collusion and after collusion. If the firm agreed to share profit, so they're going to split the quantity. Share profit means they are, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if each one have the same quantity. So that under this 15, it will be split equally. So each firm will have 7.5. So what will have be in the duopoly market, if you remember, when we have only two firms in the mobile operator, when we have only two firms in the mobile operator at the beginnings of the 90s, we have only Click and Masrufone and Vodafone and Mobbinil, let's say, for example. So this is the equations. So the firm one reaction and firm two reaction. Under Cournot, you will find that the quantity will be 10. But if they have a collusion, they can produce less. Under collusion, they produce less. I don't care that much about the drawing. I care so much about the calculations for determining the quantity. So this is the important point, and this is what I'm trying to explain from the previous one. If they collude together, they will act as monopoly. But if they didn't, they will act as split the trusting and the market, and the Cournot will giving me a better number of units. But under the collusion, under the monopoly power, they have more pricing. Thank you so much for today.